Hello and welcome to the Big Time Strength Podcast, featuring small school strength coaches making the big time where they're at. This week, our host, Coach Preston Peterson, brings to you a high school strength coach who is doing it big time in the high school setting. We really appreciate you guys tuning in, and I hope you enjoy this week's show.
Before we get to the show, I'd like to thank our sponsors. The first one is TeamBuildr. Thank you, TeamBuildr, for sponsoring today's episode. TeamBuildr is the leading software for high schools and colleges by providing coaches the ability to write programs online, generate over 13 reports, and even train athletes remotely for side income. Right now, if you sign up with the code BigTime, you'll receive a free APRE programming template, which works automatically within TeamBuildr. No more spreadsheets and workout cards to track training maxes that change day by day. You can automate your programming without outsourcing your programming with TeamBuildr. It is an awesome software. The guys at TeamBuildr have it going on. Hewitt is an awesome resource for everybody that is a high school strength and conditioning coach. There's not enough great things I can say about TeamBuildr and everything that they're doing for coaches around the nation. Our second sponsor for today's show is PowerLift. PowerLift is the leading manufacturer and distributor of heavy-duty strength training equipment for collegiate and high school athletic performance centers around the world. PowerLift brings over 20 years of experience to the strength and conditioning world, and all the products are manufactured in the state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Jefferson, Iowa. They are proud to support all coaches making it big time where they're at, and I cannot say enough great things about these two sponsors. PowerLift in general, from my college days to where I'm at now, PowerLift has been our rack. I'm telling you guys, there is not a more durable rack out there. If you go to Northwest Missouri State, you check out the racks there. They've had them probably for close to 15, 20 years now, and they still look like they're brand new. The racks that we have within our weight room, nice, pristine. It does not show wear and tear at all. And the thing about it is when you buy PowerLift, you are getting heavy duty. This stuff is rugged and it will last. And when you're looking for training equipment that's going to be used by multiple teams, multiple student athletes every single day, it's important to have the best. So thank you to our sponsors, TeamBuildr and PowerLift. Now let's get to our show. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Big Time Strength Podcast. Today, I'm pretty happy to interview another Iowan, and Coach Jeff Jones. He's been around at a few different colleges, and now he's at a high school level. And I'm telling you, I'm excited about this one because I love to see coaches that want to invest at every level. It doesn't matter where they're at, what they're doing. They just want to invest in people. And so Coach is at Fairfield, Iowa. The cool thing, just talking to him before the show, is he's hitting the ground running. He's trying to get things started here in the spring. And then they're going to start implementing within classes and stuff during this next fall semester. So a lot of things going for him. I'm excited just to hear how he's going about building the culture and getting the program started at Fairfield. Coach, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Preston. Excited to do this, man.
Great. So to start out, your coach, can you give us your background, kind of where you've been, how you got to where you're at, and kind of where you want to go with it?
Yeah, well, I'm a small-town Iowa boy. I graduated from Rockford High School, small class, had 44 people in my graduating class. From there, I went to Central College. When I was at Central, super fortunate to be around really good coaches, really good people. I became obsessed with athletic performance training. I had a really good mentor in Jake Anderson. He came in there my junior year, and, he was taught under Chris Doyle. He brought in a whole new training system. We had sheets. We had our own individualized numbers. I've never seen anything like it. And I became an intern, too. So I trained. He coached me. And then I got to coach other athletes, and I just fell in love with it. From Central, I went to Louisville just for a short 2 months. And there I had a connection to Boise State, where I was a GA for a short time. And then I became an assistant. So I spent 6 years at Boise State. Learned a ton. Coach Tim Saha was the head strength coach there. Ryan Russell was an assistant strength coach there at the time, who is now at Auburn University. A lot of really good sport coaches there, not just football. Boise State was known for the football at that time, but we had a lot of really good sport coaches that had a big impact on me. From Boise, I went to Arkansas State with Ryan Russell when Gus Malzahn and Russell went over to Arkansas State. I was just there a short time. for 6 months, and then went to Auburn University for 3 really good years, had a blast there. And then my wife and I, we're both small town Iowa. We want to move back closer to home and start a family. So the Luther College job came open. Applied for that, ended up fortunate to get that, and we had a blast in Decorah. So I had 3 good years at Decorah. I was a director there of 19 sports. Absolutely loved it. And then I had a call last year, and Eli Drinkwitz wanted me to come to App State with him as a director for the football team. And then this past year, I was at App State for that whole year. And then when that whole crew went to Mizzou, I had this opportunity at Fairfield High School, and I jumped on that. I'm super excited to be back in Iowa coaching high school athletes.
Coach, that's a lot of background, a lot of people that you met along the way, a little bit of moving around, which you get to see all these parts of the country. You know, you go from Boise State all the way to Auburn and Arkansas in the middle there. And where is Appalachian State? Is that North Carolina?
That's in, Boone, North Carolina.
There you go. And the stops along the way for an Iowa boy to come back home, I think that's pretty cool. And like we were talking about before the show, you have the opportunity to build a program now. You got a lot of people that, high schoolers that don't know what's going on. They don't know how to train. They don't have much base. What has that been like for you?
It's been fun. It's been really refreshing. I've really enjoyed training these high schoolers. It's very different than training these college athletes, but it's still really fun, and it's challenging too. You're dealing with athletes who have never stepped foot in a weight room, who have never done a lot of these basic movement patterns, and you're coaching the basics. You're coaching with a lot of energy, and you're trying to get these high school athletes to buy into the idea of high quality training. And, it's not easy, but it is fun. And to me, my personality, I think it fits well with college kids, but I think it fits well with high school kids. I like bringing energy. I like being excited. And, you got to make it something that they truly love doing. So for me, it's important for me that I'm fired up. I'm fired up every session. I got to explain to them why the heck they're doing what they're doing, how it's going to transfer to making them better. And it's, so far it's been really fun. It's been 3 good weeks here so far. We've had good attendance. We're always trying to get more, and it's been enjoyable.
Coach, you talked about fun right there at the end, and say coming in, being fired up, and then telling them the why and how that transfers to their sport or to whatever athletic endeavor that they've got going on. How else are you making the atmosphere fun, or what's the thing that you're doing just to get more people showing up and getting it rolling here from the very beginning?
All right. So number one, this is really important. You got to play really good music. I've noticed when you got good music that the athletes will get into it more. Okay. So you got to queue up really good playlists. Number two, I want to make it more than just performance training, right? What I think is so cool about training the high school athlete ages 13 to 18 is they're at such an impactful stage of their development. And no doubt you can do some really amazing things on the performance side, right? But to me, what I get excited about is the mindset, right? Training their mind, training them, character education, character development, getting them to understand, hey, you know what? You want to be a great football player. You want to be a great basketball player. Well, it starts with character, because sure, it's about the process, but what drives the process is your character. So I'm passionate about the character education, just starting sessions with our core beliefs, with our mission, with our goals, talking to them about the importance of being a good person, about being on time, about being respectful, respecting your teachers, respecting your parents. Given those micro coaching sessions every single day, that is truly what I love and I'm passionate about. No doubt I'm passionate about the performance side, but I'm also passionate about the character education, the habit education, those things as well.
I find a lot of time, I love that, Coach. The music one, that's awesome too. So after this, you're going to think it's a funny request, but I want your music playlist just to make sure that I'm on point with what I got going on. But I love what you were talking about with
I gotcha.
Your second bullet point there. You talked about mindset, character development, and then moving into core beliefs and mission and goals, like those micro coaching things that just, in my opinion, kids want expectations. They want to be held accountable. They want something bigger than themselves, and they want something more than just the training, right? Do you feel that from your students?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, for sure. It's got to be more than just the training, because, and this is from, he's a guy that I totally respected, Ed Thomas, rest in peace. He's a mentor from afar for me, right? I've read his book. I've read all the stuff about Ed Thomas, but the quote that I love from him is, "If all I've done is teach my players to block and tackle, I've failed them as a coach." And I totally buy into that. If all I've done is to get our athletes more explosive, faster, and stronger and resilient, I've failed them as a coach, because it's so much more than that. And it comes down to getting them better in the classroom, getting them better outside of the classroom, getting them to be better with their parents, getting them to treat their friends better, giving them the skills and habits and training their mind to be more successful when they're done with high school, and they can go do big things, or they can find more fulfillment and significance when they're done at the high school level or wherever we coach them at.
Truth. I like it. Tell me, how are you implementing this? So obviously you said it was micro coaching doses. Are you starting the lifting session out like this? Do you finish things up? Is this something that you have made curriculum for, or is this every day you're coming in with some sort of goal or idea yourself and you want to relay that to the athletes?
Okay, that's an awesome question, because I love talking about this. So what I've done is I love reading books, and what I do is I'll read a book, I'll highlight the most important points, right? The things that I think are applicable, that can have an impact on me or others around me. So I'll read a book, I'll type up notes on Microsoft Word, and then I'll get this file, and I'll just put this file together of all these big ideas that I think will be impactful to our student athletes. So what I do is I call it kind of the index card system. Is I have a bunch of index cards. I'll look through this huge file. I have it in a binder, or I'll just pull it up on the computer and I'll look through it, and I'll write down. I don't want to talk for 5 to 10 minutes before a lift, but I'll write down just a very short, whether it's a story, whether it's a principle I want to hit on, whether it's a core belief and why this is so important to us. And I hit on it. I hit on it for 1 to 2 minutes. I try to get them engaged at where I say stuff, and I want them to call it back to me. I want to make sure they're understanding what I'm saying. And then after I say that, I want to we'll break it down, whatever that word is that they choose, or I'll choose a word. And then throughout the session, I want to be better at this too, but I ask athletes, so what did you get from my talk? Did you take anything away from that? And it's kind of funny, because sometimes I'll say, and this is why it's so important to do, I'll say, so what did I talk about at the beginning of the lift? And the kid will just look at me with a blank stare. And he has no idea, right? He has no clue. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's okay to over-communicate your values. It's okay to over-communicate your beliefs, because if they haven't heard something 5+ times, do they truly understand it? So what I do is I over-communicate the heck out of my core beliefs. I over-communicate all that stuff, and I keep this index card, and I put it in the stack, and I just kind of go through the index cards through the off season, through the in season, and I just revisit them.
Coach, we're going to dig into this a little bit more because you're excited about it, man. This is stuff that just pumps me up. I'm in a similar boat as you. I love training. I love the X's and O's, but I know for a fact that kids do not buy into that. They buy into the culture, they buy into the mission, they buy into something that's bigger than themselves. So I find this to be the most important thing. And then after that, man, you can go whatever way that you want to go with your training, right? Like there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, but I think this is the foundation. So tell me more about, let's just start out with your program's mission statement or core values or your goal or however you want to frame this up. But tell me a little bit more about that and how you can communicate that mission to your students.
Okay, so basically our mission, I want our athletes to be on a mission every single day. Every single day they walk in the building, I want them to be on a mission. And to me, this is our mission. We're going to compete today to be better than yesterday. Basically, compete today to be better than yesterday. And everything we're doing, we're trying to do it better than we did it yesterday. So a lot of that is, number one, with how we start. How do we start a performance prep? Are we locked in? Are you truly locked in to what I'm saying to begin the session? You got that positive self-talk going. Are you getting your mind right, ready to have yourself a dang good session? So it's about competing today to be better than yesterday. And we do that with our folders. We have, each phase is 4 weeks long, where we're trying to track everything from how many push-ups. We give them rep ranges. We give them inverted rows. How many rep ranges? How many reps are you doing? And then we got to compete to do it better than we did yesterday, or we got to compete to do it better than we did last week. So I just want them in the mindset of, hey, every day we're trying to do it better than we did it before. And that stems from Pete Carroll. I've read a ton of Pete Carroll stuff. I love Pete Carroll, and his thing was do things better than ever before. I just put a little twist on it, and we're going to compete today to be better than yesterday.
I love that tweak, and I apologize that I jumped in there, but I think it's important to point out that you've added that compete, right? So there's something about making people excel when there is competition. I think it's awesome that you added that in there, made that tweak. All right, sorry, Coach, go on.
Okay, I like it. So that's our mission, and then our goal. So to me, our goal is we want to be the best at everything that doesn't require talent. Okay? We want to be the best at everything that doesn't require talent. What does that mean? That means attitude and effort. People talk about control of controllables. It takes no talent to have a great attitude. Okay? It takes no talent to have great effort. And the attitude and effort, those are what you control. You focus on your attitude, you focus on your effort, you're going to develop. You're going to be better today than you were yesterday. And that is a huge thing to get our athletes to understand. Don't worry about all the things you can't control. Don't worry about it. Worry about your attitude. Worry about your effort. And then our core beliefs is I break it down a little bit farther. As to me, there's 3 components of your attitude, and there's 3 components of effort. And then we're going to be getting some graphics up to where we define those 3 components. So, for example, our attitude, there's 3 big components, and I talk about this all the time. Gratitude, okay? To me, what gratitude is seeing the good in someone or something. You want to have an attitude of gratitude. The second one is resilience, okay? So a big thing with resilience is, where is your mindset when something bad happens to you? To me, that's an unbelievable definition of resilience, and I got that from Jay Wright, the head coach of Villanova for the basketball team. And then the last one is positive, all right? So we want to have a positive attitude. What does positive attitude mean? Well, we're going to define it. To me, and I got this from Pete Carroll, is we have a belief something good is going to happen. So that's kind of how I operate. Belief something good is going to happen. It's going to happen. But the most important part is your attitude and your effort matter. So to me, my big goal is I want to have all of our athletes know these things. I want to have them understand what is the definition of gratitude, what is the definition of resilience, what is the definition of positive. And then I want to quiz them. I want them to almost be annoyed with me when I say these things, or they're making fun of me. But to me, when they're doing that, that means, okay, they're understanding it, they're getting it. That is what I want.
How about, and I'm not to dig in too much here, but I want to know your 3 for effort.
Okay, so that, to me, and I got some of this. So I love reading. I love reading different coaches, learning different coaching styles. To me, when I read Urban Meyer's book, Above the Line, I thought it was an awesome book, really good book. And one of his core values was relentless effort. And as I'm coming up with all my stuff, what I want my culture to look like, what I want my atmosphere, my environment to look like, to me, relentless effort, that's a huge thing. But it's got to be more than just relentless effort, because we've all seen the athletes who have relentless effort. They can go, go, go. They can do anything. They can fight through anything, but they lack attention to detail. And they're not focused on the little things that make the big things happen. So to me, when you got somebody who has relentless effort, but they're not detailed, they're truly missing out on a big part of their development. They're missing out on tapping into their potential. So relentless is number 1, detailed is number 2, and then consistent is the third one. And to me, consistency is, hey, If you only train hard on the days you feel like it, you're not consistent. If you only practice hard on days you feel good, right? If you live by how you feel, not your commitments or your principles, well, you're missing out, and you're truly not going to develop to be the type of player you want to be, but most importantly, the person you want to be. So, ask former athletes of mine, especially at Luther College, RDC effort, that was a big thing that they'd always talk about, that I'd always talk about. And those are 3 components of effort I'm always coaching. Are you relentless? Do you finish? Are you always attacking? Do you never quit? Are you detailed? Do you have your foot behind the line? When we say 5-second tempo, are you truly doing 5 seconds? Or are you rushing through it, doing 3 seconds? When we're doing a goblet squat, is your right foot turned out when I'm coaching to keep it straight ahead, or at least at 11, 1 o'clock? Those little details, I'm always coaching. And I keep just hammering them. Small things make the big things happen. If we can't focus and do the small things right, it's going to be really tough for us to make those big things happen.
How do you go about, like you're just giving us some usable things right there with the details, right? How do you go about teaching? Let's finish out the rest of effort here. How do you go about teaching that relentless part of it and the consistent part of it, that consistency? Tell me on a daily basis, what's that look like to teach your athletes that?
Okay, so relentless, to me, that is you just attacking whatever you have, you're bringing everything to it, right? And to me, that's a big part of consistency, right? Whatever you have today, you're bringing everything to it. Relentless effort. I mean, man, when we're doing competitive sprints, when we're doing 20-yard dashes, I want to see relentless effort past 20, not 220, past 20. When we're doing max effort push-ups and you got a partner counting and we're trying to compete, get as many as you can, I want to see relentless effort where you're not giving up. And I'm always constantly saying relentless effort, relentless finish. When I'm signing off guys, and we might do a max reps inverted rows, right? I'm signing that off. I'm just in their ear, relentless. Are you relentless? Are you a finisher? Never quit, those type of things. And I just talk about the importance, like everybody understands the importance of hard work, but are we truly living it with relentless effort? And once we get the kids talking about that too, saying relentless, getting after their teammates, that's when it's really fun to see.
Truth. And then the last one there, can you give me, what does consistency look like? How do you teach it?
To me, how I teach consistency is whatever you have, you bring everything to it. That's how I'm defining it. Now, how I teach it, man, to me, I think you got to teach it, number one, by yourself being consistent. So I've noticed this too. When I am not as sharp as I should be on a day, I totally know that my athletes aren't going to be as sharp. So if I'm not satisfied with something in the session, I always need to look in the mirror first. What did I do, or what could I have done to make that better? And a lot of times it starts with me, because when I'm bringing the juice, when I'm focused, when I'm fired up, when I'm all in, usually the athletes are going to respond, right? So it has to start with me being consistent with my energy, with my focus, with my attention to detail, with everything I'm bringing. And then just always constantly talking about, hey, we're not always going to feel great. I talked to the group this morning. Hey guys, 5:30 a.m., the alarm goes off. Does everybody get excited when the alarm goes off? No, there's a lot of probably negative self-talk. But what you need to do right away, get the negative self-talk out of your head, start talking to yourself in a positive way, get your mind right, start thinking about appreciation, right, or attitude of gratitude, and how grateful you should be. You're coming in, you're training with your teammates, you're training with your friends, you're striving to get better. And those are the little things I talk about with consistency as, hey, you might not feel like training, but high performers, high achievers, they don't always feel great either, but they talk themselves into it and they get themselves ready to train and compete at a high level.
All right, so there's a couple things I want to unpack from there. The extreme ownership mindset that you've got going on with if the session's not good, you have to look at yourself first. I think that's really important for not only your listeners or whoever, but for me to hear, right? Because the first thing that's going to happen is if things go wrong, we automatically want to blame, complain, defend. Okay. But if we internalize or we look to inward before we go outward, I think it's such a big deal for us, right? Because we can look back, and I think one of the terms you used was bring the juice. Well, if I didn't bring the juice, how can I ever expect someone else to do that? Like if I'm going to say that I'm leading a session or that I'm going to set the tone for our culture and I don't do that, like I love talking about these core beliefs because what it ends up doing is it gives you a guideline for yourself, right? Because if we don't live this out at first, one of the things that we talk about at Mount Vernon is facta non verba. And it's the concept that actions speak louder than words, right? So no matter how much you say, it does not matter unless you show it. And it comes back to these things. And I think this is how it shows it. What I want to do is maybe backtrack just a little bit here because we've talked about the mission. We've talked about the goal. We've got the core beliefs. And the thing that I skipped out on, and this is my fault, I got to get better at how I'm going to start setting this up. But a couple of shows ago, I was talking to Gary Schofield, and he was talking about Ikigai, and it's the concept of what gets you out of bed in the morning. Or Simon Sinek talks about start with why. Okay, so it's the idea of what is truly driving you. And you just talked about the kids; you want them to be on a mission. What is the mission, right? You said compete today to be better than yesterday. Give me more of the why behind first why you do it, and then why the kids should follow that.
Well, I think the main reason why I am so passionate about this is because I was positively affected by a lot of coaches. I had a lot of really good coaches and mentors in my life that really helped change me for the better. That had a really big influence on me. And, I want to pay that back. And I get, so much fulfillment from getting people to do things that they might not think they could do, right? And Martin Rooney said this: a coach's job is to get somebody to do something that they couldn't do on their own, getting them to do something that they want to do that they couldn't get there on their own. And to me, that's a huge part of my purpose is, hey, we're all in the daily fight of human nature. We're fighting human nature, and I want to give our athletes the tools. I want to give them the skills to be the best they can be, because I'm a big guy on positive psychology, and there's a lot of negativity out there, right? And I hear it all the time. And a big purpose of me is just trying to get people to be the best they can be and to perform at a high level, but also just on the whole character side. It's truly about developing the person first, player second. And to me, why I'm so passionate about it is because that was me. That was a lot of coaches. And even since I've been coaching in colleges, they've helped develop me as a man and then as a coach second. And I've had such gratefulness towards all those coaches that, man, you just get so much more fulfillment too when you have that impact on other people as well.
Man, so there's so many things that just come to mind off of that. I started doing some schoolwork, classwork on positive psychology. And there is a master's program through the University of Missouri, and just blew me away. And then I just finished up another class called 3-Dimensional Coaching, and they've got a loose affiliation with FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. But one of the things that they talk about is the first dimension is like the X and the O's, like the things that you have to do, like physical attributes, if it's power, speed, strength, schematics, all that type of stuff. But then the second dimension is the mindset, and really connecting with kids to become more confident, and all these different things that coaches, they realize that it is so impactful. The mind controls the body. And then they take it to a third dimension, and that the idea is not that our whole body stops at our head. There's also this part of being, this heart, this soul of a person, of where does their identity lie, and how much can we impact that person, not just for their sport, but for a lifetime, and finding that identity. And obviously sport does a great job of giving identity, but sometimes it could be false identity and not being, it's like tied to our performance rather than who we are as an individual. And so I think when a strength and conditioning coach can take their stuff and shift it not only from the X's and O's of strength and conditioning, but shift it towards the mind and the heart, that's going to captivate kids. People are going to flow toward that program. They're going to move closer to it. And that gets me like you talking about bringing the juice, that gets me juiced up, because I think if we're going to live out our purpose as a strength coach, I think that is what it looks like, coaching the whole person. And so when you talk through that this gets me pumped up. So I'm going to move into this, and I don't know if there's any more that you want to hit on, but one of the things that we talk about is just the buzzword culture. What is the culture of your program? So maybe if you could do this, if you could describe to our listeners, if they'd come and check out, maybe they do a site visit, it's one day, they'd come in and they'd see you coach. What would they say the environment is like, kind of the culture of the room?
I would say, this is what I hope they'd say, is the environment would be high energy, as in, number one, they'd see a coach who takes this very seriously, who has high energy, a lot of excitement. I'm not up there, I'm not monotone, I'm not mumbling through the words. I'm fired up to be there. I hope they would see attention to detail. I hope they'd see focus with all the reps. And a lot of the culture, what I truly, it's hard to see the gratitude, resilience, the positivity, right? The attitude side, and maybe not in one day, but I hope, sport coaches and other people around, that I want the culture to be the mission, to be our goal, to be our core beliefs. That's my biggest thing. And people coming in for the day, what I want them to see is, I truly want them to see passion. I want them to see energy. And I also want them to see athletes truly training at a high level with relentless effort, attention to detail, consistency through the whole training session, starting fast, finishing strong, doing that. And to me, that's what I hope somebody would see coming in as a visitor.
Maybe a couple of clarifications here. And I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but when somebody says high energy as a strength coach, most of the time I think exactly what you're describing. But maybe the culture, maybe Americans in general, when they hear strength coach, they think of somebody going crazy on the sideline or whatever. Can you maybe in your best words possible, tell us how it's not being a rah-rah coach, but more so a focused attention to detail coach? What's the difference there?
So I'm very passionate about this part. So to me, I want to be a teacher first. Teacher, number one. Energy, number two. But the biggest thing I've found out, and this is through experience too, is if you're not excited, if you're not passionate about getting in front of the group, letting them know, because here's the thing, a lot of these athletes, they might not be passionate about lifting weights. They might be passionate about playing basketball, playing softball, playing football. But do they truly love waking up at 6:30 and coming in and lifting weights? Heck no, they don't. So part of my job is I want to make this environment, I want to make it the highlight of their day. And that's tough to do. But it starts with, if I don't have the right energy, there is no way in heck that these athletes, that's going to be the highlight of their day. So the energy comes just from me, asking how they're doing, me having good body language, me being excited to see them, high fives, fist bumps, me flying around, hustling around, me being, a little bit goofy, a little bit silly, right? It's okay to do that as a coach. That's where the energy, but to me, number one, you got to be a teacher first, because all that energy and all that craziness, it doesn't matter if the athletes aren't doing what you want the right way. So the energy, I'm doing that to get them excited about being there, because they don't have to be there, right? This isn't scholarship athletics. That they're making a choice to be there, and I want to make it a place that they love being there. But also, I want to make sure we're doing things at a really high level, so down the road we can see some results too. And that's just something I'm passionate about. If we're going to do something, we're going to do it with attention and detail, and we're going to do it at a high level.
Mm-hmm. If it's worth doing right? I like that. That's great stuff. Maybe the second thing to dig into out of what you talked about with the high energy, the attention to detail, the focus. You talked earlier about the positive psychology, and that high energy, that the positive side. It doesn't mean everything's going to go right all the time, right? So what happens when you've got your, like you're 3 weeks into a high school experience right here? What happens when things don't go your way, when you hit a hurdle? How important is it for you to set the tone of what that looks like to fix it? What do you got for that?
Yeah, I think I'm going to keep saying this, But it comes back to those core beliefs are not only what I want my athletes to embody, but that's something I truly believe in. So, you know what? Things aren't always going to go the way you want them. There's going to be athletes that don't want to train. There's going to be athletes that aren't interested maybe that day, or they've had some personal issues. To me, I'm never going to let that get me down. But what I truly want to do is I want to get to know these athletes better. I want to get to know them as people, so I can coach them better. But, you know, it goes back to the resilience definition. You know, there's going to be bad things that happen, but where's your mindset when something bad happens to you? You know, and my mindset is going to be, all right, what are solutions? How can I make this better? Then also too, I got to be positive, and I'm always going to operate with the attitude of gratitude. So whenever those things happen, I'm just going to go back to those core beliefs of attitude, and I'm going to practice those and find the best way to fix or to handle what went on.
Okay, so just for me as a listener, I go through and I ask you all these questions, and then over and over and over, you can go back to your mission, your goal, and your core beliefs over and over and over. I know that's what people are living out. I know that's what you're living out. And I see how that can benefit a culture, right? Like, I think simple ideas make profound impacts. And when you've got it so that the mission ties into the goal ties into core beliefs, and the core beliefs are what's lived out in behavior, I think that is a really, really cool deal. So in any way that I can ask a question about culture now, I see how it can go back to all of those. And I think you've fielded every one of those questions. So for people that are taking notes, this is what I've got, and Coach can fill me in if I've missed anything on this. But mission: to compete today to be better than yesterday. And that means starting the right way. That means ending the right way. That means everything in between. And then the goal is to be the best at everything that doesn't require talent. So that would be attitude and effort. And then that flows into the core beliefs, where there's 3 parts to attitude: gratitude, resilience, and positive, just like the positive in general attitude. And then effort, and it's got 3 parts: relentless, details, and then consistency. Coach, did that kind of wrap up everything in one package there?
Yeah, it does. Yep. And then I have definitions that I want our athletes to know those definitions, and I want them to understand, instead of just always saying relentless and saying, you know, be positive. Well, what does relentless really mean? Well, what does being positive really mean? So I want to be able to define those two instead of just having those as buzzwords.
Truth.
But
Makes
yeah,
sense.
you hit it on the head. That was right. Yep.
All the way, definitions are important. Okay, so we've talked a lot about just getting the culture right, the missions, the core values, all of that going in the right direction. All right, so now we're moving into a little bit more like training type stuff. What are your favorite resources, tools, softwares, apps, anything that you use to make your life or your training or your work a little bit better?
All right, this is an easy one here. First one for me is the folder system that we use with our athletes. And what we do there is, hey, right now we're going 4-week phases. All right. So every athlete has their own individual sheet. It's going to have their name on it. And we don't have any numbers right now just because we started. But the places I've been at before, we'd have numbers, everything on there. And it's a sheet, and every phase 1, phase 2. After each phase, we take the new phase, we put it on top. And so let's say we're a year in. Hey, we got everything we've done within the last year right here at our hands and at the athlete's hands. And it is an unbelievable way to, number one, see improvement, to show the athlete improvement, but also to truly compete. Are we doing it better? Are we truly competing week in, week out? And I want our athletes to track and record everything. I want them to be detailed about when we give them rep ranges. Well, don't just write. If we're giving you a rep range of 10 to 20, don't just write that. Don't write a check by it. Write down, did you get 15, 15, 10, or whatever you do. I want you to track all 4 sets, what you did. And to me, it's crazy to look back, and it gets really fun. You know, we started right now, and all the athletes are super excited because they got this folder. We got a nice folder, clear front cover. You know, it's got their name on it. They're writing down their stuff, and that program, that's their program. It gives them ownership in it, and they get excited about that. But what's really fun too is, you know, when we're a year, down the road. And I can look back and show some of these athletes, hey, 10 months ago, this is what you did. Now you just did this and it was easy,
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I mean, that's been a game changer. And I know there's all this, the TeamBuildr, the technology out there, going to iPads and all that stuff. I couldn't do that right now just because I've fallen in love with the system and showing athletes their improvements, and they love having their own folder and the ownership and tracking everything, and it's all right there that you can look at within seconds. So that's been a game changer as far as training and development. You truly, when you hold them accountable to tracking stuff and training at a high level, man, you can see some really good things happen.
This is from my perspective. Just seeing that it's a great way to show if somebody's been in there too. Like when you said it's voluntary, they have a choice. If they look back over 10 months and they only see that they've been there 10 times, like that's not a great situation to be in. You really think you got better like that? So I think that's a great visual in that way.
Well, and then you see their buddy whose vert has went up 5 inches and their vert didn't go up at all. And it's easy. Hey, look at this folder here. Well, number one, you might have showed up. You weren't consistent. You didn't track. You didn't write down anything. You weren't competing. Why do you think your vertical should go up? Look at this guy's card. He tracked everything. He competed every day. He was consistent. Yes, that is why he had these improvements and you didn't. So you're right. It's so easy to show them, hey, it is what it is. This is what happened here.
I remember back, I was done at Northwest Missouri State and I got my training folder. And, I'm a strength coach, so I'm connected to it anyway. But I just felt like a connection a little bit to all that work that I had put in to get my folder and still have it, right? Like I still have the sweaty, bloody, old, stained folder for no apparent reason, right? But there's some meaning to me that because I did this with my teammates in a place that impacted my life and the trajectory I was on, I'm going to keep that thing. Like how cool is that as an athlete? You get done. I don't know if you're going to do one folder for 4 years or 4 folders for 4 years, but regardless, you say, this is my freshman, my sophomore, my junior, my senior. That's really cool. And I think I remember back, it must have been maybe a couple years ago. I think you were at Luther and I saved a picture. And I think it was you, most likely, but it had a list of. Yeah. Okay. So you know what I'm talking about. A list of the reasons why, and maybe go into that just a little bit, just to say these are the benefits of doing it like this. Okay.
Yeah. So to me, I love it because number one, you're going to be training a lot of different athletes that have different training age. So for me, it's really easy. You got a training folder before the session. I might get with a couple of my seniors, and instead of doing goblet reverse lunge for a main movement, I'm going to have them do barbell reverse lunge, and they're going to load it a little bit heavier, and I might even write their sets out if I've known what they did the week before. And I'm going to be able to individualize it. It's easy, too, because you can write coaching cues. If you're signing off an athlete on bench and he has this right shoulder winging out, that right elbow winging out, you can write right elbow or right shoulder. You can coach him up, and then you can make sure, hey, next time you're benching, your focus is this. And I might even bump you down in weight so you can train with a little more detail, a little more intent to where you're not putting your elbow or your shoulder at risk there. So I love it for coaching cues, for modifications. When a guy has to be modified for something. I love having easy, moderate, or hard on there when I sign athletes off. I want most of our main sets to be easy. There's going to be sometimes when they're moderate, sometimes they'll be hard, but most of the time I want them crushing weight because I want them producing a lot of force with good positions, with great detail. So we have easy, moderate, hard too that we'll write down. And I just think, man, to see that the athletes buy in and to love having their training card, it's something that's their own. I've even seen it to where athletes are writing power phrases, goals on there. That's always in front of them. That helps motivate them. And to me, it's been really cool.
That's awesome stuff, Coach. All right. How about this? Moving in, and I kind of know just from following you on social media a little bit of your training philosophy, but that's more exercise selection. Maybe give me a little bit broader view. And I know this is a huge term and you can answer it however you want to, but what is your training philosophy?
Okay. To me, that is a huge term.
Mm-hmm.
I won't try to go too long in this, but my biggest thing is high quality, low volume training. It pains me to see things done at a low level. It is hard for me to watch, and I don't want to watch it. I don't want to be around it. So to me, my biggest thing is everything we're going to do is going to be high quality. There's not going to be a lot of volume. I'm not going to run you in the ground. I'm not going to crush you on it. We're not going to do, we'll do high reps here and there, but we're not going to do a lot of high rep training, because high rep training usually equals lower quality for the most part. But I can go on and on about some of this stuff, but to me, it's high quality, low volume training that makes sense. I just see a lot of things out there in my mind. I don't know if it makes sense to me, and obviously I'm biased. It's my system, but to me, everything we do makes sense and it has a purpose. I don't want to do things that waste athletes' time. That is another thing that I promise all the athletes. I'm never just going to do things that's going to waste your time. Everything we do, it's going to have a purpose. Now, I'll go on just a little bit more. This is I learned this from Jim Wendler, and it's had a huge impact on how I've designed programs probably the last 4 to 5 years. And Jim Wendler talks about athlete the lower, bodybuild the upper. So what that means is, okay, lower body, we don't need to do a ton of volume for the lower body. They need to do lower body. It needs to be high quality. They need to be crisp, really good reps. But we don't need to be doing 10s and 12s on squats, single leg squats, stuff like that. Maybe on some of the lower body pull movements, right, the posterior chain, right? And then when you look at the upper body, hey, our upper back, most athletes, upper back, weak. We want to pull way more than we push. But also, we don't practice on our hands, right? We don't. So we can attack the upper body with more volume, with more movements than I would the lower body. And I'm more worried about, I always want quality, but I want the lower body to be as high level as possible. And then the upper body, we're going to row really well. We're going to have a good push-up pattern. We're going to bench well. We're going to do our pressing really well. But there's going to be some times there where we'll go attack some 1 minute and 30-second seated band low rows, or we'll do some max set of push-ups where we'll get more higher volume. But to me, I just think the upper body can handle more of that volume, where you want to be really smart with the lower body, because athletes are practicing. Who knows what else they're doing on the lower body. So that's been a big concept for me.
That's good. And you said that's Jim Wendler. Do you have like an article or a podcast or something that you got that off? I'd like to learn just a little bit more with that.
Okay, so he does an elite fitness talk.
Okay.
Elite fitness, it's one of his earlier presentations, and it's fantastic. But that, to me, that just makes so much sense, because when you look at a lot of programs, they have the same exact sets and reps, the same exact movements for the upper body as they do the lower body. And when I look at that, that just doesn't make sense. They're very different. The upper body and lower body are very different. And I totally believe you can hammer the upper back. You can hammer the lats. You can get so much more pulling in than pushing, but also you can get so much more upper body in than lower body.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just trying to think through my program and how that plays out. With main movements, I'm fairly, like upper lower, it's basically the same volume for those. But my accessory, there's no doubt that I hit our horizontal vertical pulls more than anything else because of that. Like Joe Quinlan at Northwest Missouri State, he kind of always talked about that. Like posterior shoulder, upper back is always undertrained with all of his athletes that come in. So that's one of the things that we focus on. But I like this thought process of athlete the lower, bodybuild the upper. Just makes sense. And what kid doesn't want to look, however you want to frame it, for female athletes, it's like
I know
that wants to be toned, or if it's a male athlete that, they want to look good, like that's a cool thing to see for them. So I don't see any downside to that, and they're becoming better athletes. That's one of those things that's going to be like a bullet point for me now to make sure I think about my programming that way.
Yeah, it's impacting me big time.
All right, so how about your favorite professional development resources? So one of the things that I'm jealous of is you've been to places you've been other places, you've been around the country, and you've got to see a lot of different things. And I'm jealous of that, because what that allows you to do is to see implementation actually live and live it out, okay, in so many different environments. So that's really fun to me to know that. But then also, you got to continue to learn all the way through. And you've talked about reading books already. Tell me some of your go-to things for PD.
I'll tell you just one more quick thing too on the training side thing, where, I talked about the folder system, that's had a huge impact on our athletes. But to me, another thing that I'm sold on is the jump mats and electronic timers. I have, and to me, that comes back to competition and intent, to where, man, when you get athletes competing on the jump pad, and we're not just talking vertical jump, we're talking 20-pound dumbbell jumps, we're talking 30-pound dumbbell jumps, we're talking kettlebell squat jumps from a dead stop. We got all these different jump metrics. When we can start timing fly 10s, fly 20s, 20-yard dash, 30-yard dash, and we get these athletes to compete at all these metrics, that too has just had a crazy impact on some of the development of our athletes, because it goes back to that intent. It goes back to that relentless effort, that detailed effort. And when you're getting guys to compete and girls to compete, and then you get that instant feedback, those reps are going to be a little bit more higher level. And then you add those up over a long period, you're going to see some really good things happen.
I like the point. So
those are
on
the
that.
things that, yeah. And I mean, I got into those at Auburn, and then, at Luther, we got into them, and at App State, we had them, and at Fairfield, we're getting timers, we're getting jump mats, because I just believe they're that important.
Yeah, no doubt. And not just to say the tech that we have, but because I've seen that too. Just Jump Mat was my first purchase, and absolute game changer. I was just talking to Coach Johnson from Central, and he says he does a single leg, so you can do a comparison between left and right jump, and I love that. And so my next question is, okay, once I see this, there's so many kids that have these imbalances. What's my next step? And you would think I could think of that when I'm talking to them, but I forgot. So now I'm gonna have to call them up. But like, what does that look like to compete with your peers, but then also just get so reliable feedback instantly? That's awesome. And then this last year and a half ago, maybe, I got a free lap timer. And that has changed every one of our speed training where we're recording like that. It just changes the level of output. And I think you're right on with that. I would tell you this, and I'm not a huge velocity based training guy. I know, like Mike Boyle says, like if you want to go fast, go run. Like moving a barbell fast is not quite the same. But I think there's something to be said about having another way to compete other than just the amount of weight that you have on a bar. Because when you talked about, I got to look at high quality and low volume. You cannot just chase the numbers. We see that across the industry right now. Movement over max is kind of that concept that I don't know how to say his name, but Zach DeCon, him coming out with that book is a game changer, just because now it's not always chase the number, it's quality of movement. And if we can tie another, like if it's force production, like push band, man, I think, or however you want to measure velocity based training, I think that's just one more metric where kids can compete. And I do not see a downside to that.
No, I'm all in on those too. I love the tendos. I love that stuff. You got to be smart with it, with certain movements. But to me, I'm a fan.
Perfect. Okay. So now, sorry I jumped the gun on that, but now let's move on to some of your favorite professional development resources.
Well, there's a lot of good podcasts out there. To me, Mike Boyle has had a huge influence on me as far as program design. I love Boyle's podcast. I love his new book. Anything by Boyle, I really like. I'm a big Jason Ferrugia fan. He has that Renegade Radio stuff. That's a really good podcast. The Way of the Champion is a really good one that I'm getting into. That's John O'Sullivan, and that's a lot of sports psychology. That's a lot of training and coaching youth and positive coaching involved there that I really enjoyed. High Performance Mindset is another really good podcast by Cindra Kampoff, who she has a lot of different mental conditioning coaches or sports psychologists on there. As far as books, man, there's so many good books. A couple ones that I've read lately that I've really enjoyed are Raise Your Game by Alan Stein, What Drives Winning by Brett Ledbetter, and that one is all about character, the What Drives Winning. And you know, the one, my first book I probably read when I was in college, cover to cover. That was probably not the first book, but it's close. It was Frosty, Make the Big Time Where You Are. You know,
Let's go.
College strength coach. Yeah, Jake Anderson, my college strength coach, gave me that, and I love that book. It's such a great principle. You know, the big time. It's not a place. It's the state of your heart, and it's your mindset. And I'm totally bought into that fact.
So not to miss this segue, okay? But I gotta take advantage. How are you making the big time where you're at?
Man, to me, that's easy. I just go back to those core values. You know, how I'm making the big time where I'm at. I'm always practicing gratitude. I'm so grateful for all my opportunities. I'm so grateful for all the coaches, all the athletes I've been around, every place I've been. You know, even being back in Iowa, I'm grateful to coach high school kids who just, you know, thank you after every session and are hungry to get better and just have never trained. I've never had any experience like that and just sometimes need to be around a positive role model. I practice positivity, you know, because things aren't always easy as a strength coach. And if you're negative all the time, that's going to be really tough. So, I mean, I've never been, my identity is not as a strength coach. You know, I love what I do. That's my passion, but it's not who I am. You know, to me, I want to be a really good father. I want to be a good husband. I want to be a really good person. And those are the things I focus on. And I'm never going to let a logo or a T-shirt, you know, where I work define who I am. So to me, the big time, wherever I'm going or wherever I'm at, to me, that's truly going to be the big time just because of my mindset and my attitude.
I love it. That's awesome stuff.
And another thing too is, I've been to Division I. I've been in the SEC. I've been a part of undefeated college football teams. I've been a part of Division III. I've been in high school. I've been around a lot of really good coaches at all levels. There's really good coaches at high school. There's really good coaches at Division III level. There's really good coaches at Division I level. You know, it doesn't matter what level you're at. And this is one of my favorite quotes is from Don Meyer, you know, the old basketball coach who used to coach at Northern State. He says, it doesn't matter where you coach. It matters why you coach. And those are things, you know, Frosty, to me, I look at mentors from afar, right? People I've never met but have impacted me. I look at Frosty Westring. I look at Don Meyer, Ed Thomas from Athleton Parkersburg. Mm-hmm. All those guys have had such a tremendous influence on me as a coach and as a person. That's and those awesome. Are guys doing it at smaller colleges or high schools, you know?
Okay, so from my perspective, everything that you're speaking to me right now, I'm falling in line with. And one of the awesome parts of my job, and the thing that I told you I was jealous about, was not being able to be at all those places that you've been at and to see all those things, but to be able to ask you the questions now, I don't take that for granted, right? I'm gonna say some gratitude here. So I'm very thankful that you've came on. And before we finish up here and get out how people can contact you, I want to start out with some finisher questions, and they're super simple ones, just some ones that get to know you a little bit more, maybe a little bit more about you or your favorite things. Those finisher questions will have then at the end there give you any way that you want to have people reach out to you so they continue the conversation. Coach, are you ready for the finisher questions?
Oh yeah, let's go.
Awesome. So you talked about a lot of books and you talked about some of the ones that you finished up. What is your favorite book?
There's so many awesome books out there. I would have to say, man, I would go with Frosty, Make the Big Time Where You're At. Now, Raise Your Game is probably the best one I've read within the last couple of years by Alan Stein.
All right.
But all-time book, man, it's tough to beat Frosty.
All right, man. I'll take
And
that.
just because that, as a young coach, it impacted me, and I read it 13 years later, and I took so much more from it. As a 13-year vet in the coaching field, it still had such a profound impact on me.
Isn't that crazy how you can cycle back to the same book that you've read before and just find so many other awesome things from it?
Yeah,
and how it impacts
absolutely.
you then? I love that.
Yep.
I've read some of my books that I'm like, oh, these are my favorite books. And I go through and read them again. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I missed this like the first time I went through. So that's great. How about a person that's influenced you the most? And that could be within training, or that can be just within life.
Yeah, to me, the people who have influenced me the most as a person, because I'll go number one as a person and then as a coach. To me, who's influenced me most as a person are my parents, my brother, and my wife. And then who's influenced me most as a coach would be Chris Peterson, Frosty, right, from his book,
Yep.
and Ryan Russell. And Chris Peterson was the coach at Boise State in Washington. And
Yep.
he's the one that really turned me on to character education, character development. Hey, you can develop these things, and you can even develop them at the Division I level. It doesn't matter where you're at. You can always develop these type of skills.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. And hopefully sometime he writes a book too. I'll read that one.
I know. I would love for him to do that.
I remember I was with my cousin. It was 2008, I think, right, where Boise State beats Oklahoma, and I was just going nuts. It was like, the underdog story you're always rooting for. Is that 2008? Am I off on that?
That was my first year there.
Okay,
2007.
So 2007, and I was just absolutely going nuts. The next question I have for you, and it sounds like you got a few of them, is what is your favorite quote?
Well, to me, my favorite quote is really, it's from Mark Cuban, and it's I can't remember exactly what it was, but it has to do with him waking up knowing today is going to be a great day, and knowing that he's going to make it a great day. As in, you don't go have a great day, right? You got to go make it a great day. And that's just something I've always believed in, is we don't have great days. We don't have great practices, great training sessions. You got to go make it a great day. It's in your control, and if you just think things are just going to happen for you, it's going to be really tough. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the quotes I like. I mean, the most obvious one, I can't even remember who said this, but people don't know, or people don't care how much you know, right, until they know how much you care.
Mm-hmm. I like both
that's
of those.
Another good one.
Yeah, no doubt. So you mentioned it earlier. You said one of the things that you got to do to make sure the workout session is good is to have the right music. So I want to know your favorite workout playlist. What you got going on there?
All right. So I visited Nick DeMarco down at Elon. Okay, so I'm gonna give him a shout out. That
dude doesn't know anything. I've been talking to him a couple of times. That dude knows nothing about strength and conditioning.
He does about music though.
Okay, good.
Yeah. No, he has this playlist. Well, you can get it on SoundCloud. I think you can get it other places, but it's called Big Booty Mix, and it's a mashup of all these different songs. We've all heard them, but it's up tempo. It's thumping. It's really good. And it gets me jacked up, and I've had a bunch of compliments already on the playlist. And then a lot of these kids already think I'm some type of DJ here because it's so good.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, well, shout out to Nick for the Big Booty Mix. All right.
Oh, yeah. And then big, we have tradition Country Friday, a lot of places I've been. We just crank the country tunes on Fridays, probably on Mondays, probably on Wednesdays, probably on Tuesdays as well, but we just call it Country Friday. A lot of times we'll listen to some country, but it's got to be more your up-tempo country stuff.
Oh, no doubt. Yep. All right, last one, Coach. Small school coach who's killing it and deserves a shout-out.
Well, I tell you what, this guy's not at a small school anymore, but he was my assistant when I was at Luther College. He's at App State right now, and he's doing a heck of a job. Derek Stork, So he was a Luther wrestler. I coached him there. Went to William Penn, came to Luther with me as an assistant. And then when I went to APRE, he came down there with me. And he's currently at APRE with the football team and the wrestling team down there doing a heck of a job. High character, low ego, really good coach, really good man.
That's awesome. All right. And we're going to have Gage reach out to him, get him on the list. That's awesome to have somebody that you've got to be around, be on the show. That'd be really cool. And then the last thing here, Coach, if people wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do that?
I would say you could probably through Twitter.
Okay. I'll put that in the show notes.
Okay.
Perfect. Coach, to wrap things up here, I'm very appreciative of you taking the time to do this. I know it's a busy time. I know with kids and then, making a transition to a new school and all that type of stuff, to take the time to do this, it means a lot. So appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Preston. Glad to be on here, man. Good talking.
Thank you.